Okay, up next, we have Dr. John Lott and Nikki, I'm so sorry, I'm not going to pronounce this right, Gozer, I think, from the Crime Prevention Research Center. And as a reminder for future, for all speakers, if we can try to keep to 2 to 3 minutes, that would be really helpful. Whenever you're ready, go ahead with your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Nikki Goser. You got it right. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak here, and I hope I will be given the same amount of time as others have been granted before this committee. I would greatly appreciate that fairness. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I am here speaking as a victim of a violent crime, a crime that some call gun violence. I call it violence because I realize violence is a behavior, not an object. I do not hate guns or gun ownership. I understand that guns serve a legitimate purpose for the basic human right of self-defense. I want to give you some insight on how red flag laws or extreme risk protection orders, while intended to protect people, can have very real unintended consequences for many Americans like myself, victims. I'm going to try to get through this without crying. In 2009, my husband, Ben, was shot 7 times and killed in front of me by a man who I only realized that very night was stalking me. This occurred inside a restaurant in Nashville, Tennessee, that was a gun-free zone. Because of that law, at that time, I had to leave my legal permitted firearm that I normally carried for self-defense locked inside of my vehicle that night. I obeyed that gun control law. I'm a law-abiding citizen. My stalker, however, did not. He had no permit to carry. He brought a gun in illegally into the middle of a gun-free zone. And when I asked management to please remove him because I realized I was being stalked, when they confronted him and asked him to leave, he pulled a .45 from a shoulder holster and shot my husband 7 times in front of myself and everyone in the middle of that busy restaurant. I'll probably wonder for the rest of my life if I could have prevented that. Of course, I'll never know because I was denied a chance. I was stalked and defenseless. Just like the Michigan State University shooter, who should have been prosecuted for gun possession felony and other crimes, the legal system failed by not arresting and prosecuting my stalker years before he ever came to Tennessee. He should have been a convicted felon and a prohibited person. And the people in his life who knew him, years before he ever came to Tennessee, they should have had him involuntarily committed. I learned so many things during the murder trial, and it was obvious that this guy had real issues, and they should have been addressed, and there were laws that would have made that possible, but people just did not use the existing law, and I don't understand why. The legal system failed Ben and I was also prevented from being able to protect us. The days, months, and years that followed were very difficult for me. Depression, nightmares, grief, trauma, loss, and concern for my safety were all things that I dealt with and had to work through. These were all normal human reactions to something this horrific. I had knelt in a pool of my husband's blood, trying to pray the life back into him. I heard screaming and screaming until I realized that screaming was actually coming from me. I had to wipe away my husband's brain matter from coming out of his nostrils. It was a last act to try and preserve some kind of dignity for him before the crime scene photographer with Metro got there. I had Ben's dried blood under my fingernails for days. I remember thinking during this time that if I just happened to pass away in my sleep, I would be okay with that because I didn't know how I could face another day. I was never suicidal, but you can see where someone may misinterpret that. Even those with the best of intentions could have an exaggerated concern and try to have my guns taken from me if a red flag law were in place in my state, with no due process up front and no mental health expert involved. It would be devastating for a victim like myself to be unable to protect myself after this stalker violated me in such a horrific and life-altering way. I've been hearing that there are no means to act right now if someone is a danger to themselves or others. This is simply not true. There are currently involuntary commitment laws that already exist in every state in this nation. People just need to use them. There is first a mental health evaluation. And look, I would have had the opportunity under that existing law to explain why taking away my guns would make my situation actually much worse. I'd also have the opportunity in a hearing to explain to a judge that I'm not a danger to myself or others. I'm actually a victim of a horrific crime, and I'm dealing with normal emotions. I shouldn't lose my basic human right of self-defense. That would be trauma on top of trauma for me. Look, if someone is truly a danger to themselves, simply taking away their gun is not a serious solution. There are many ways to commit suicide. Anyone truly determined will simply find another way. If someone is a danger to others, only taking away their guns does not prevent them from harming or killing others. Look, when the police searched my stalker's vehicle at the crime scene, not only did they find 2 more guns and ammunition, they also found a baseball bat, binoculars, gloves, rope, and a knife. His Dodge Ram truck could have been used as a weapon as well. As a stalking victim, I can tell you it is extremely important to be able to obtain protection quickly and be able to carry. Safe storage laws sound like common sense until you realize being forced to lock up your gun more than locking it in a glove box. You are making it so that women who are the most vulnerable to be victims of crime will have no way to quickly defend themselves. Should we tell the bad guy who intends to rape us and kill us, stop, wait, let me unlock my gun and load the magazine first before you attack me? The criminal justice system will not protect you. I know this firsthand. My stalker has continued stalking me from prison by sending me twisted love letters for years. He is currently set to be released early because of good behavior early release credits in 2028. That's absolutely terrifying for me. I believe women should be empowered to protect themselves how they see fit. The women of Michigan should have the right to choose what will work best to protect them and their loved ones. I fear that these gun control laws that are being proposed will have real unintended consequences and cost lives. I have seen firsthand the consequences of laws that prevent good people from being able to protect themselves. In conclusion, please focus on mental health care, funding and education about the existing involuntary commitment laws for families and law enforcement, improve the criminal justice system so that those who break the law are actually held accountable, charged, and prosecuted correctly. Prisons being a revolving door for violent offenders is hurting us all. If it saves just one life, in gun-free zones they're not, where there's no security, and you say no one can be there to defend themselves, you know, that makes good people helpless. What good is owning a gun if you cannot carry it with you to protect yourself? You're a law-abiding citizen. You've passed the background check. You've got your permit to carry. You've done everything. You've practiced. Why? Why can't you carry? If it saves just one life, please don't force women to lock up their gun, preventing them from quickly defending themselves when needed. Please, please stop and think of the other side of these laws and the victims that you could be creating, victims of gun control. Thank you.